For most of his life, Wolfgang Van Halen lived under a shadow he never asked for. The son of legendary guitarist Eddie Van Halen and actress Valerie Bertinelli, he grew up surrounded by fame, talent, and expectations the world had already decided for him. But behind the cameras and applause was a different story, a story of loss, resilience, and a fight to define himself. This is the journey of a boy born into legend, and how he learned to shine on his own terms. Wolfgang was born in 1991, in a home full of music, but also one carefully grounded by his mother, Valerie. While the world assumed he'd have a glamorous rock star childhood, the truth was much simpler. Family dinners, homework, cartoons, and quiet moments filled his days. Eddie, despite his fame, tried to be a gentle, patient father. He didn't push Wolfgang toward music, instead letting curiosity guide him. "He never told me what I had to be," Wolfgang would later recall. It wasn't until he was 8 that music began to truly take hold. Eddie handed him drumsticks and said, "If you can hit these magazines in time, that's what drumming is." It was unconventional, even playful, but it worked. Hours of practice turned into skill, patience, and discipline, the foundation for everything that came later. By his early teens, Wolfgang gravitated toward guitar. But this wasn't about imitation. His father's talent was instinctive, almost untouchable. So Wolfgang taught himself. Late-night practice, tabs from modern bands like Blink-182 and System of a Down, and endless experimentation helped him develop a sound that was uniquely his. It wasn't about being the next Eddie Van Halen. It was about being the first Wolfgang Van Halen. Half defiance, half self-preservation, this mindset became the backbone of his music. Even as he honed his skills, the world was watching. Every photo, every rumor, every step carried the label, Eddie Van Halen's son. His mother did her best to shield him, but the pressure was inescapable. In 2006, everything changed. At just 15, Wolfgang was invited to jam with Van Halen. His uncle Alex was stunned. His father offered him the chance to join the band officially. It was a teenager's dream, and a trial by fire. Critics called it nepotism. Fans were skeptical. Every performance was a test. Wolfgang recalls, "I was there to support my dad, but I became the biggest enemy of every 40 to 50-year-old man out there." Yet he proved himself. The 2007 to 2008 reunion tour with David Lee Roth and the 2012 album A Different Kind of Truth showcased not just his talent, but his determination to carve his own place in music history. Even after proving himself in Van Halen, Wolfgang sought a creative life outside his father's shadow. In 2013, he joined Prodigy, recording 2 albums and touring, learning what it truly meant to be a musician on his own terms. But fate had a harder challenge waiting. In 2020, Eddie Van Halen passed away after a long battle with cancer. For Wolfgang, it was devastating. He described his grief as feeling like he wanted to crawl into a hole every day. In the months that followed, Wolfgang channeled his pain into music. In 2021, he released his debut solo album, Mammoth WVH. Every instrument, drums, bass, guitar, vocals, was played by him alone. The lead single, Distance, a tribute to his father, became a #1 hit on Billboard's hard rock chart and earned him a Grammy nomination. For the first time, the world saw Wolfgang not just as Eddie Van Halen's son, but as an artist in his own right. By 2023, he married Andrea Alop in a ceremony honoring his father with a special musical tribute, and released his second album, Mammoth 2, further cementing his identity as a solo artist. From drumming on magazines as a child to performing on some of the world's biggest stages, Wolfgang Van Halen's journey is one of quiet strength, resilience, and self-discovery. He proves that even in the shadow of greatness, it's possible to shine on your own. Do you think Wolfgang has finally stepped out of his father's shadow? Comment below and share your thoughts. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more inspiring stories.